hardly know her myself. She's in fact a mystery. Tosses her hair a lot. Why does she do this? I have no idea. Is it a twitch? Does she need a haircut? Should she use a barrette to keep her hair out of her face? These are things I'm willing to get to the bottom of.
Good evening, folks, and how are you doing? Glad to be back. Glad to see you guys again. I think we've got a few people in chat. I can see Martin. Hey man, how you doing? I can see Pusher as well. Anarchy, Stocks, Soran. Hey guys, thank you all for coming back again. Oh, we've got James as well. Hey James, how you doing, dude? Hope you and Hitch had a lovely time the other day. I loved seeing your pictures of you all dressed up for your event. Oh, and we've got Fax as well. I don't know what Nabend means. So is that German? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Come on, Fax. Oh no, tell me what it is. So yeah, so we're just starting off today, guys. What we're going to do is have a look at the Melody 96 and put some nice LEDs in there for Benito. That should be a relatively quick job. Should be nice and easy. Might have a problem with some of the switches because when I desoldered them, there's still some solder there. Oh, it's short for Guten Abend, which is good evening. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Good evening to you too as well. Thanks. Good evening as well. So yeah, so we're going to do that first. As I say, there might be some that are a little bit problem. We'll heat up with solder, push it through, whatever. We'll do all the ones that don't have a problem first, and then we'll see where we get to from there. And then after that, we'll be moving on to the Punchy board, the Royal 66. This is one of my boards, which we'll unbox from here later on, which looks really good. So we'll build that up towards the second half of the stream. And we're going to be building that with Retooled blacks with 78 gram sprit springs, all nice and lubed up. They were done earlier on today. And of course, Fax, back to your lovely screw-in stabs, which we'll need to clip and lube as well because they're not done quite yet. That board is in a really nice blue-grey colour, so we'll have a look at that when we get to it. Huffing Gorilla Glue. Oh, nice. So we'll have a look at that board when we get to it, but we are going to be putting GMK Oblivion on there. I've got that all set up and ready to one side, ready to go on. The first thing we need to do though is just finish removing the caps from this board that we put on last week, just so we could do a sound test of Benito's board and make sure everything worked before I send it off to him. So what we'll do is take these caps off, we'll get the LEDs in, we'll fit them all up, and then we'll go from there. And we've got WGM back with the bits. Hey man, thank you very much for the bits. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. In fact, actually, one thing I do need to show you guys as well is, as per my giveaway a couple of weeks ago, the Kale Novel Keys big switches turned up, which means that I can give out my prize now. And as you can see, it's now mounted in its lovely 3D printed case. So there we go. So that's all set up and ready for the guy that won. So I'm going to be passing that off to him in the next couple of days. So yeah, all good, all gravy. I have got one for myself as well. I couldn't not buy one when I was getting one for someone else. So that has turned up. That'll get shipped off in the next couple of days. I'll make sure that will get sent out, and yeah, we'll take it from there. WGM, I'm going to take a guess and guess that you are the winner from that. I think you are, but I don't know if you are the same person, but I think you are. Mel says she'll give me her bits. Nice, good to know. You need to come back around, Mel. We need to go for a coffee. We need to hang out, and I need to stroke your Taro key set as well because I've not seen that IRL as yet, and I do really want to see that. Who else have we got? Oh yes, you were. Okay, so yeah, sorry WGM. I do apologise. Sometimes with people's usernames being a little bit different, it takes me a second to catch up on that kind of stuff. But I'm really glad they are. That is yours there in a 3D printed case. I'll ship it out in the next couple of days. I'll ping you again for your address if I haven't already. Make sure I've got that. Darth, what's his face? Lubing big switches is unironically a good idea. Okay, I've never tried lubing them, but these are the clicky ones. They're not the tactiles or the linear ones. Although I do want to get those at some point. But yeah, these are the clicky ones. So I think I'm going to use mine for a little lamp. Just have it in the office as a little lamp. Tap it to turn it on, something like that. I don't know. We'll work out what we're going to do with that. What else is going on? Hoi. That's short for good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Fair. Yeah, that's good. Sure thing, we'll make a date. Have fun on the stream, Sugar Plum. You do you. Oh, thanks, Chick. You are the best. You really are. We definitely need to catch up. I'll hit you up offline, Mel, and we'll make time to catch up at some point as well. And congrats on getting your polycarbonate Singer as well. I saw that you'd got that the other day. I know Josh built it for you. It looks fantastic. Really happy you've got one. Mine's just there on the shelves. I think you can just see the corner of it. One of the best boards I've got, hands down. Polycarbonate Singers. If you get a chance to have one, guys, take it because they're really good, really cool. I think Glove as well, the artisan maker, he's a pal of mine, he's got one, and Querdenker as well, he bought one, who's from the International kit. So I think they'll probably watch it at some point, but if you guys haven't checked it out, check out the International Kit podcast. Myself and Olivia have been the first two guests. We've got these lovely desk mats as well, so definitely do check it out. What else have we got to say? Yellow Geo Clicky did wonders on the spring. I've not really played with them, to be honest. I've spent more time trying to get the 3D printed case to work properly than actually spent time looking at the Switch, so I do need to do that. And we've got WizBlue as well. Hey man, how are you doing? Good to see you on stream again. And I liked the little case that you sent me in the middle of the week. The pictures, they were really cool, dude. Really cool. Really impressed with that one. How do you open one? Scared to break it. Oh, do you mean the big switches? I don't know. Should we have a look? Let's have a look. And see. Make sure I can't get it out of the case because it clicks in. Fortunately, I don't have hands big enough to use them as a switch top opener. Sorry, IC extractor, I mean. Hold on, let me see if we can use that to leverage it now. So the good news is that the switches sit in here nice and flush now. Here we go. Break it, trying to get out. There we go. It's out. So they look like they just open normally. Yeah, you just prise it open as normal, Martin. So you can just literally prise off the two sides. You can get your thumbs under there. I imagine you can prise it open. Simple as that. Yeah. Keycaps are kind of cool as well. Very loud though. Very loud. Cool. So yeah, I think if I forced it, it would open. I'll do it on mine later on and take a look at that at some point. And Take to the Streets is now following. Thanks, man. Thanks for the follow. Really appreciate it, dude. Thank you. Let's see what else is going on in chat as I take off these keycaps. I think I did it with my fingernails actually. Yeah, I reckon I could pull it apart with my hands. It's quite a gap there to get your fingers around. I reckon I could do that quite easily. Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem. Jay, print a switch opener at 4 times the size from mine. Yeah, I could do. I've printed off a load actually. I'm going to start giving these away with people who get me to build the boards and stuff like that. Oh gosh, I've turned my monitor off now. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. I can't see what I'm showing you. But yeah, I printed off some just normal switch top openers on my 3D printer just the other day. Okay, my monitor is turning back on slowly, so I'll be able to see you guys again in a second. There we go, I'm back on. Let's rearrange these windows so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. There we go. So I'll print off these anyway. I'll start giving them away with people who build boards and stuff like that for, because they're really useful. Amber says evening. Hello Amber, how you doing? Good to see you again. Oh, a G80 nav pad. Let's open this. Let's have a look at this link. Oh man, that looks great. Oh, and Tobbles with a subscription. Thanks, man. Really appreciate that, dude. Really appreciate that. Tobbles, you are the best. And again, happy birthday from the other week. And oh yeah, you've got Sarika coming from me as well. So I will definitely owe you a few beers for that as well, mate. So we'll sort that out. That first link that you've sent, Wiz, that looks really, really good. I love the little slope at the front of that. That's really cool. That's really cool. Don't even need fingers. No, you can get your fingers right under them. Just print the switch over at 4 times the size. I could do that. I could do that. Oh, another link. Another link. Oh, I like the bottom as well. Oh man, that's really cool. That is really cool. If that's getting made out of CNC or something, or on a CNC, that would be really, really cool. I like the undercut of the sides of it. That's really nice. Center USB. Good layout on top. Numpad and cluster. Yeah, I like that. I really like that. It's a great idea. I'd be in for it. And MS Evil Genius himself, Mr. Evil Genius, there he is. Good to see you again, dude. And I also want an update on where you've got to with your Hyper 7, dude, because I'm about to set up the revised Hyper 7 group buy for round 3. So if you've got some pictures that you can share or a build that's almost complete, I would love to see that. What else is going on? Why are you taking the Melody 96 apart? The owners asked me to pop in some LEDs. I didn't get a chance to do last week. So this isn't my board. This is one of the few that I'm building for someone else. This is for Benito. He's asked me to pop some LEDs in. I did take LEDs out, so some of them might have a bit of a problem because there's still some spare bits of solder up and stuff like that. But what we'll do is we'll heat the ones up that need to be heated up and push them through. When we come into it, we'll put in as many as we can, and we'll finish that off. And then we'll move on to the Punchy board, which is the Royal 66, which we're going to be building today as well. Yeah, Anarchy explained that he's putting LEDs in. Scoot doot. Hey Toby, nice man. Thank you for that. 2 months in a row as well, Toby. That's really cool. I think you're my longest subscriber because no one else has renewed yet. But yeah, no, thank you, Toby. I really appreciate that, dude. Vomin Duran, hey man, how are you doing, dude? Good to see you again. And Holy Pandas aren't great as well. Mr. E6V2 himself, the guy that's just bought Max's E6V2. How are you doing, dude? And not to worry, you've literally just started, so no worries about losing track of time. Okay, so I'll catch up quite quickly on this. Take all these off, so I apologise if this is loud and clicky. Oh, Anarchy renewed a few minutes ago also. Did I miss that? I am so sorry, Anarchy, if you renewed and I missed that. Let me have a look. I didn't get a notification for that one, so I do apologise. But Anarchy, you know I love you. Oh, I owe you £8 as well. Oh gosh, I completely forgot about that. Stream over, I will send you that as well. I completely forgot about that. Anarchy's been kind enough to get some key switch openers for Alps. I couldn't remember the name then. For Alps keys, for Alps switches. So he's got some key switch openers for those cut from I believe steel. I can't remember. From Laser Boost, and he was kind enough to send me one as well. So I owe him for that. Okay. Excited to be the only person ever to own an E6. Yeah, I've got one. You can't see it. It's this side of the TV, and it's just up on the top shelf there, which you can't see. But I've got one. I love my E6. I think it's a great board. I've got carbon fibre plate in it, and it sounds amazing. It just sounds really cool. Big fan. Any spoopy keyboards coming up from you, seeing that it's Halloween soon? No, in fact, actually, let me look at my schedule. What have I got planned to build on Halloween, actually? What have I said I'm going to build on Halloween? Where is it? Stream schedule, there we go. So 28th, which will be the closest, 28th of October, I'll be rebuilding my TX1800 V2, my grey one, with Revo whites. So as long as the Revos arrive by then. So as long as that happens, we'll be all good. And that's what we're doing. Next week we're going to look at the Nox X75 prototype. We're going to, at the very least, replace the sky switches in the brass plate and rechange them for retooled blacks. And if everything goes to plan as well, we'll build the copper plate up at that point as well. I'm just hoping that David from Met Boards has got a 75% PCB that he can spare me, because the one I was going to put in there hasn't arrived yet, so I just need a PCB to build it with, and then we can do a direct comparison on stream of 2mm versus 2mm copper versus 2mm brass in the same board as a bit of a sound test, and I can record a nice little video for that as well and get on YouTube. I know Chris Swires has done it recently in a Mech Mini, and I think the sound difference even in that board is quite pronounced, so it'd be quite interesting to see what the difference is across a full size board. I mean, I've got a few boards with copper plates in now, and I absolutely love the aesthetic and the sound. It's a bit more thocky in my opinion, but I've not got the same board with both brass and copper in to compare side by side. So the Nox X75 is one that I'm going to do that. Switches are in the post, should arrive this week, then you can at least get it functional. Oh, nice, man, cool. Yeah, I'm really interested to see that. In fact, actually, that reminds me, I need to chase up getting the whole thing into QMK, because the fork's ready to push. So I'll get that sorted this week and we'll get it pushed into QMK. I think you're the furthest ahead in terms of build anyway. I think you're the only one that's actually come back to me and said they've got a plan on how they're going to build it. I'm not sure if Olivia's got something secret that she's got ongoing. And I know that Ewan, Bitshifter, who's been helping me with the key maps and stuff, with all of the Unicode characters, I know he's ready to build his now as well, but he hasn't actually started yet. I think he's had a new job to start, so that's taking his time away a little bit. And we've got Gio as well. Hey man, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Always good to have you on stream. Yeah, looking forward to the QMK update. Yeah, so I'm actually running the QMK update on mine. It's on this bottom shelf here, just out of sight. But it's an interesting QMK fork, because it's absolutely massive as the key map. I think it's over 2,000 lines now. Most of the characters on the board are Unicode. You've got God knows how many options and switch settings and things like that to play around with, and there's different Unicode settings for Mac and OS X, Windows and Linux, and one of the keys on the top row will control it all. And we've done some really clever stuff, or should I say Bitshifter has. He's done some really clever stuff with his. I've been giving him the ideas, he's been working out how to do it, and we've got a lot of the Lisp functions in there as well now. So if you hit a certain key combination, it'll copy and paste the last X number of characters that you typed, or replace it with different ones, and all sorts of other bits and pieces, all sorts of really clever Lisp functions coded into it. What grit sandpaper would you recommend for the final stage of a brass plate before compound? It depends on what you mean by compound, because suspecting that the Americanism is different to the Britishism for compound. But if you mean your final buff and polish, then I would recommend something greater than 6,000, 8,000 grit, something like that as your final bit and then a polish afterwards. And ironically, one of the best things to finish brass with before you rub your compound on is toothpaste. So if you rub it with toothpaste and then dry clean it all off, toothpaste has got enough of a polish in there to make it look nice. But yeah, somewhere in the region of 6,000 to 8,000 is what I personally use. Okay, so that's that done. We'll start to get the LEDs ready now and pop these in. UGM was like, do you still have the Nixdorf board? I do, yes. The Nixdorf board is just in a cubby hole. Martin, who is in the chat as well, he's actually going to rebuild it to me when I finally send it to him. So he's going to rebuild it with Retooled blacks for me because he wants to have a look at the board as well. So we'll take a look at that together. But the switches from it are actually in here. So these are the Nixie switches. In fact, if I make sure I'm not typing anything, I can probably show you. There we go. That's the Nixie switches just in there. I have got some spare ones. These are the ones that are left over that are still yet to be decided what I'm doing with. But yeah, the Nixdorf board still lives, still works. It just needs some new switches put in. Okay. Gio, I'll have to check it might top out at 3K. Is that all you've got at 3K? I mean, that should be fine. I just perfectionist with stuff like that, and I do a lot of stuff on cars where if you're going to paint it, you want it to be 6,000 grit. Sorry, excuse me, I'm really thirsty. I need some sugar. Try not to advertise for Coca-Cola there. Why are we rebuilding this melody now? Well, we're not rebuilding it, we're just putting LEDs in it. That's literally all we're doing. And the reason I'm doing it now is because I need to send it back to Benito. He's the owner. I literally didn't do them last week. Need to do that. And then, as I say, we'll move straight onto the punchy board as soon as this is done. This should be relatively quick and relatively easy to do. So for those of you who've never installed LEDs before, it should be just a case and finding the switch, working out which is a positive. On your LED, the longer leg is the positive one. And then just pushing that through. Okay, this is where, as I say, I'm going to have some problems with this. This turns out to be a bit finicky because of where the board's been soldered previously. I'll do this off stream rather than on. In fact, looking at it, there's going to be very few that are actually going to work. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I don't know how well this is going to focus, but you can see here, for example, there is 2 holes there. It has been desoldered. The solder's come away, but the pins won't go through because the holes aren't quite large enough. So I'm just trying to push it through from this side. You can see. So whilst the board has been desoldered, what I'm probably going to need to do is get some wick and pull all that out. I didn't realise there was as much solder left as there is. So just looking at it, I reckon I can probably only do about 40 switches without getting the desoldering gun back out. So let's just find 1 or 2 that we can show you guys how we do it. So literally it's just a case of lining up on the bottom. You can see here that the LED goes in there and there. One's got a positive sign next to it. Hold that up a little bit. So if you can see, there's a little tiny plus sign there. It's probably not going to focus. You want to make sure that the long pin on the LED goes through that hole with the positive sign. As simple as that, really. As I say, so there you go. You can see that's gone through. The little plus sign is there, and then that's the longer pin. Plus sign, pin. There you go. You can see it's a longer one there. Once I've got that in, what I like to do is make sure it's nice and flush up against the switch, and then just bend the pins out of the way. And when I do this board, because I don't think I'm going to do it on stream, I think I'm going to take this off stream, is I'll do the whole row all the way down, solder that in and clip them, and then I'll go back and do the next row and the next row and so on and so forth. That's usually the quickest and easiest way to do it. As I say, it's not too difficult to do. It's just making sure you get them in the right way, making sure you get the positive orientation on the ones that are positive, and you can see, there you go, they're going nice and simply. Hold it in place, pull it tight, and then back out of the way, and then you can just solder. And then once they're soldered, it's just a case of getting the clippers in, and then just clip. one tip as well is when you are clipping these, just hold onto it with your thumb as you clip underneath your thumb. And the reason you need to do that is because these pins will fly everywhere when you clip them. They ping off because of the tension inside the wire itself. And the last thing you want is to be treading on them or don't get them in the paws or anything like that. So just be careful on that kind of stuff. But then you can see the 2 LEDs in here, nice and neatly, and that's what will replicate across the board. As I wasn't aware of how bad it was, but it shouldn't be too difficult a job. We'll get that done off stream, I think. Put that to one side. There we go. Put these up there. We'll get that done tonight. Benito, if you're watching, dude, we'll finish that. We'll finish that later on tonight. Yeah, I think where you bend them, Martin, and it's different for everyone. So the reason why I like to bend them is because once I build a board, I rarely take them out. But if you build them, when you clip them, you should be clipping into the solder anyway, and that way you're clipping into the solder, they should be straight. So they should just pull straight out anyway. They should never be stuck in there if they're desoldered properly. Okay, well, with that idea out of the window and deciding not to progress with that, we'll move on straight on to the Punchy 66. We'll get the key set out of the way as well. There we go. We've got Egler in the chat as well. Hey Egler, good to see you, man. Really, really good to see you. So we'll move on to the Punchy board. So this was the Royal 66 made by Punchy. So those are the guys behind the Revo switches, Chris told me earlier on, and the Punchy switches. So yeah, it's a nice box, really well presented. As you can see, got a little bash in the corner, but it's a lovely looking box. Nice little coat of arms. Plenty of thick foam, as you can see. So I've had this out obviously before I've had a look at it. Here we go. Comes with one full RGB LED, two full RGB LEDs, and therefore a little part of the board that I'll show you later on, as well as a little grommet and some rubber feet as well. I don't know why there's 8, it doesn't take that many. And then hex, I think they're M3, looking at them, hex M3, that we'll build with screw together. PCB, supports ISO, or importantly for me. 66 layout, as you can see, arrow keys down here, longer shift, and then standard build. It only supports 6.25 and 7U space as far as I understand. There isn't a split space version or split space PCB, and with it being a centre mount PCB, you can't use a clue board on it either. It's literally only this one as far as I know of. I don't know of any other PCB that fits. So yeah, it's a lovely looking one. One of the interesting things, and I'm not quite sure what it's for, there is an underglow LED right here in the middle of the PCB. Just a single one, came pre-installed, it's part of the factory fitting. I don't know why it's there. If anyone can tell me, please tell me, because I have no idea why it's there. The board doesn't support underglow, it's a solid case, as you'll see in a second. So I can't for the life of me work out why it would have that. Anyway, moving on, let's take a look at the board. So there you go, you can see it's a lovely blue-grey colour. Lots of packaging. I'll get rid of that. So this is the board, as you can see, it's a lovely blue-grey colour. The little LED that I pointed out over here, it does light up, so that's what the RGB LED is for. So on the top of the crown you can see there's a dot just here. That dot does light up, and that's what the LED is for. If you turn it over you can see the LED just sits right nice and flush through there, so that's an interesting one as well. And then we've got the base. I'll just tuck this down. This is the base inside. It is top mounted as a board, as you probably noticed earlier on. Again, lovely blue-grey colour. The camera's not picking up the amount of grey in this. It is a really nice colour. Brass weight in the middle. It needs a bit of a buff and a polish, which we'll do later on. And onto the bottom side, you've got space for the nice recesses for the rubber feet. And then, as you can see, it's got the coat of arms on there that's off the front of the box as well, which is the Punchy coat of arms. So it's a lovely looking board. It's really hefty. It's solid aluminium. All of this raised section here is just solid aluminium. So all of this in here and around here, that's just solid aluminium. That's flush on the inside with this part here. I don't know if you can see there, but that is that. And then this surround just sits on it almost. But yeah, lovely looking board. Anodizing quality is great. It's lovely and smooth. It's actually really comparable to the TGR. In fact, that's a lot smoother actually. It's not comparable to the TGR, ignore that. I thought it was when I picked it up earlier on, but it's not. That's a lot smoother. It's really good quality though. It's not rough, it's not matte, it's not dodgy. There's no hook marks as far as I can see on it. I assume the hook marks are underneath the weight and that's how they've done it. But yeah, in terms of things that bother me about it, the fact that the weight doesn't sit flat, the way it sits recessed just there, that does bother me. But as you can see, there's no room for underglow on the bottom. That one LED, I don't know why it's there. Aluminium plate, it is universal. I may replace the plate at some point and get a custom one made. Depends on how much I like the board, but we'll see. Let's catch up with chat, see what's going on. Maybe custom CNC logo. Oh yeah, for the LED, it's not, as you can see. I don't know what that's there for. Split space bar ruins the aesthetic. I've got split space on a couple of boards. In fact, I've got split space only on split boards actually, now I think about it. The VEA just here and the TGR. Yeah, I don't know if I agree or not. Polycarb weight, it wasn't an option. There's only 10 of these boards, Anarchy. It wasn't an option as far as I know. There was literally only brass and then just different colours. This was a rose gold colour, a blue colour, a grey colour and black. I don't think there were any other options. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Looks nice. It is, it's lovely, it's really nice. As you can see, it sits on there quite nicely. There's a little bit of play in it, not much. Once you tighten that up, that'll be all nice and smooth. Angle's quite low at the front, as you can see. It is quite a low angle, nicely profiled. That lip does lead it up. It's high profile as well, so it should sit nicer and have less gap than the clue board, but we'll see that when we actually get around to the finished build. And we'll compare it as well to the clue board as well and see what it's looking like. And Rob, as you say, yeah, it's a nice looking weight. Yeah, it's a nice design. There is a problem in the design. I'll show you that actually. So in terms of the design, okay, in the light so you can see. So if you can see the banner here, so that bit's nicely tucked behind there. This bit's supposed to curve back on itself and come round, but they've got the logo goes too deep. The reverse of the scroll goes a little bit too deep. So there is that error in it. I'm not sure how well that shows up, or if you guys can even understand what I mean, but it is slightly wrong. Just one of those things, one of the parts of the design, but it is very, very lovely. It is really lovely. One of my favourite things. So we are going to build that. We'll come on to the build in a second. The other thing we need to talk about as well today is the whole Candy Keys saga. So if anyone's interested in that, I will cover it. If you're not, I probably won't. I think Candy Keys said they were going to watch today actually. We've been having a bit of a chat. So if you're there guys, hello, nice to see you. David and I can't remember the name of the other person with the story as well, but David, if you're there watching, good afternoon, good sir. Thanks for the chats this week, really appreciate that. So yeah, so we'll crack on with the build. Ah, there he is watching indeed. There is David, is watching. It's good to see you. I thought there was someone else with you as well, David. I can't remember if there is or not. I apologise if there is and I've forgotten the name. But yeah, we'll crack on to that at some point. David and Christian. Oh, I thought Christian was the owner of or the runner of Mechanicon. I don't think they're actually partners. I think they're just friends. I think that's all it is. Oh, Christian's not there. All right, okay. Maybe I'm mistake. Maybe there's two Christians. I don't know. Okay. Oh, you've got 75% laying around today. Oh, well, to be fair, if you've got one, I would gladly buy it. Yeah, I would gladly buy that. That's not a problem. Oh well, I'm sad to see he's not here. Yeah, Amber, I've seen Top Clack comment on the whole drama, and we should probably clarify a few bits, and I'm sure David will agree. We've been talking this week, we've had some good conversations on Reddit via PMs, and all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. And I know David from Candy Keys and David from My Keyboard have been speaking as well. So in terms of the outcome, what I said around My Keyboard not being allowed to present and things like that, it's true. They aren't. When we've gone through all of the details, I suspected it was Candy Keys that had asked for My Keyboard to not be able to attend. when we've talked it through, they've clarified that this year that's not the case. That the decision was made by the organizer Christian. So for that, I do apologise completely, openly, and honestly. Oh, and Chris Swires with the cheers. Thanks, man. Hey, babe. Oh, I love you, Chris. Thanks, dude. So in terms of that, with regards to Candy Keys, guys, I am sorry, David. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to affray you. But the fact remains that my keyboard aren't able to attend. Now, in terms of whose decision that was, I know that Candy Keys and my keyboard have had some conversations around this as well. And my understanding is that last year, Candy Keys suggested to Christian, the organiser, that if they were footing the bill, potentially other vendors shouldn't be allowed to attend. And when we were talking earlier on in the week this week, David, you said that was the case. That was what you'd originally asked for. Then when you chatted it through with Christian this week, he'd confirmed that at no part of your request or hint or whatever you want to call it had ever made a factor into his decision as to whether my keyboard would be allowed to attend. So bare bones of it is, I apologise to Candy Keys openly and honestly. I think it's the right thing that I do that. But at the end of the day, the issue's still there. Now, I would like to speak to Christian and see what his thoughts on it are as to why he doesn't want Candy Keys to be able. He only wants Candy Keys to be able to attend. But it's just one of those things. So, as far as I'm aware, I've done my part. My part of the community is to try and make people be aware of these things and to make it, an open, honest, and fair state. I don't want people to be left out. I don't want people to be excluded from anything, and I hate to see that. And I will always be an evangelist for standing up for the little man. I don't want people to get caught out. That being said, in terms of the position, I'm not in charge of Mechanicon. I have no affiliation with it in any way. They can run it how they want to. I have had a chat with Huey on Top Clock about this. Chris Swires with more bits, watching a terrible film but just wanted to pop in because of the field. Oh, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. And Twitch is awful on my I agree. It doesn't do anything after full stop. Anyway, back to the conversation. So I've had a chat with Huey from Top Clock and Brian as well. They both had very strong feelings on it. Huey's was that even if a vendor came a week before or even a few days before, they would absolutely try and accommodate a vendor. They would never exclude any vendors, whether they liked them or not, for personal reasons or for payment reasons or for any other reason whatsoever. But that being said, it's all entirely up to Christian in terms of how he wants to run Mechanicon. I know the guys at Candy Keys are trying to do the right thing in terms of attending and they're wanting to set up the show, and they're covering a lot of the funding as well. Now, one of the things that I did do last week as well is I took the post down. I kind of regret taking the post down, but I took it down for two reasons. First reason was it'd been reported on Reddit, which sucks, and I don't like that. Last thing I wanted to do was get a ban. The second thing is as well, I had 3 unsubstantiated reports from other people that Candy Keys were going to threaten to pull funding, and I know that was posted in the thread as well by someone who's since deleted the comment. After speaking to Candy Keys, they've said that they would never ever remove funding just because someone had spoken out against them or there was a bit of drama going on or anything like that. So that's really reassuring to hear. But that was the reason why I pulled the thread, because people had mentioned if Candy Keys, people had mentioned to me that Candy Keys may pull out of their funding if the thread wasn't removed or deleted. So I didn't want to take that risk. I was away most of this week as well, which is why I've not been active on a lot of social media. It's the wife's birthday, and I know we were speaking about that as well, Dave. So it's one of those things. It is what it is. If anyone's got any thoughts, opinions, views on the whole Candy Keys thing, I'm happy to be open and honest about it. I still think my whole point stands in terms that any vendor should be able to attend these events, whether they've funded things or not. Whether they get on with the organisers or not on a personal level should be completely separate, completely indifferent. It should be really, really open. Yeah, okay, so sorry, I was just reading Dave's comments, so there you go. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. Candy Keys and I have been discussing it at length this week. They made the board request last year. They are attending as guests. Yeah, I'm happy to know that they're attending as guests. I've been speaking to David about it as well. It's all one of those things. At the end of the day, it's a good thing it's happening for the community. No one should ever get left out. I think we all agree on that. So yeah, that's my last thoughts on the matter. And the other good news is that David was a stand-up guy as well. He actually messaged me off as soon as he saw the messages and stuff like that. He was a great guy. He stood up and apologised to me, and I apologised to him, and all of that kind of stuff as well. So there we go. So just to be clear, Candy Keys are funding it, so you don't get a percentage of the door sales. That's not how it works, and that was never my issue with this. So what's happening is the event is free to attend, as far as I understand, and Candy Keys have footed the bill for the location, the venue, and all of that kind of stuff, and some of the funding for the food as well. I think a couple of other people have substituted cash for some food as well. So Candy Keys aren't profiting from this. What my big issue was that Candy Keys were potentially locking other vendors out. Now that's not the case. That's Christian's decision as the runner of Mechanicon, not anyone else's. Candy Keys potentially requested it last year, but that was never any part of the consideration as to why my keyboard, for example, weren't allowed. So at the end of the day, it's not something we need to worry about from a Candy Keys perspective. I do have reservations about why Christian's running it that way. That's something I'd like to pick up with him separately. I might ping him later on and see what he thinks. But the good news is that it's a free to attend event. It's one of the only places in the world where these events are free. For the rest of the world, we have to pay for our events. Certainly in the UK, we have to pay 5, 10, 15 quid to be able to go to these events, which covers the venues and all that kind of stuff. I actually ran a meetup in the UK myself just 6-7 months ago. The ticket sales were literally used to pay for food. I covered the venue. The ticket sales covered the food and refreshments that were available in the Leeds meetup. It's as simple as that. Candy Keys are footing the bill so people can attend for free. You know, swings and roundabouts. Two different ways, two different models, but that's the way it is. And we've got Andy in the chat as well. Hi Andy, good to see you, man. Good to see you on stream again. So that's my thoughts on the matter. I still think my post was justified. It did the right thing. It brought it to the right attention. If anyone's got any questions, thoughts, concerns, considerations, I'm happy to be open and honest about it. Simple as that. Anyway, drama over. We can get back to the build. So as I say, this is the Royal 66. We're going to build it now. First thing we're going to do is put some stabilizers in there. So these come from Vax. Vax is the stab daddy. If I can get into this, I'm not using his new hex screws today. I'm just using the normal standard ones, but I will be using the hex screws on my next build. So in terms of this build in particular, so the PCB the right way around, we're going to be running full size backspace, ISO enter, full size shift on the right hand side, and spacebar as well. So we need 1, 2, 3 and 4 stabilizers. And we are going to have to run, sadly I'm going to have to say, we are going to have to run full left shift as well. So we aren't going to be able to do split left shift. I don't have a board to hand where I can show you split left shift. It's going to have to be full left shift, which does bear on me a little bit, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Facts with the love hearts. Stab me, Facts. Oh, Amber, calm down. It's bloody talks. Well, okay, so you're getting into a bit of a debate here, Martin, about whether it's Torx or whether it's hex keys or anything else. They are hex keys. They have 6 sides. They are also called Allen keys or Allen bolts. You know, there's multiple different names. Torx generally have a star shaped to them, and unless I remember incorrectly what these screws are, there is a big difference between Torx and hex keys. So that's my thoughts anyway. Hey WGM, we do not get any door sales, basically only paying for the location, that's all. Chris is planning the rest, and we say only yes to the location, that's all. The reason we're doing this is we give back because we're going to give back to the community. Otherwise, I give away sponsors and replace broken things for free. I'll give a free service. Okay, you hit a good point, Dave. You hit a good point, actually. One of the other things as well I wanted to call out is that Dave has stepped up and addressed a number of issues. So I know a couple of people this week have had problems with, sorry, not this week, but in the past had problems with service from Candy Keys. I had a story about a key set that went missing, and I know Quadenke had €8 and stuff. But all of the issues that I knew about have been resolved in the past week as well. So they've stepped up, they're all resolved, and that's really good as well. What else? Andy, you're a star, Jay. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I don't know what that's for, but that's it. Packaging says Torx here. Okay, I'll have a look at the screws, because if I remember rightly, and there's 6-headed Allen key ones, then there is a difference between Torx and hex bolts. So, yeah, you're all going to Google that while I'm streaming and tell me I'm wrong. Maybe I am. It's one of those things, but I'm pretty sure there's a difference. Martin's still waiting for the Katana 60. I think when we were speaking, Dave, you mentioned there was a problem with the Katana 60 plates, and you were waiting for some to be refreshed and reviewed and all that kind of stuff. There we go. You sorted it out. Cool. Right. Okay. So I'm going to put the board to one side for a second. And what we're going to do now is get the stabilizers ready for the board. So the first thing we're going to do is use 6.25 U space, and that's going to sit here. We'll get the parts ready for that. There we go. Then we're going to have the full side backspace. We've got our ISO enter. We've got our right shift, and this is where I'm going to need to get another stab packet out. This is what I want to check for. And if I get in the right drawer, I'll just steal another one out of here. Okay, so these are the screws actually. Thanks. Let me have a look at this. Okay, so these aren't hex nuts, so these are Torx. These aren't going to show up on camera, but they're not Allen key fitment. They are Torx ones, so they are different. There is a difference between the two. I was just wrong on the type of ones it sent. Okay, we'll just steal another stabilizer out here. So there we go. Another screw, and need a wire. There we go. Okay. And what's going there? Oh, Chris Wise just subscribed. Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks for the sub, man. I really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. Can't wait. Yeah, alright, I'm surprised it didn't block that. You're lucky. Right, let's catch up. Since there was the V1 and now the anodized versions, we thought the katana could look great in black too. All things look good in black, or anything can look good in black. It's just one of those things. Tip jar bomb. Yeah, you're knocking the tips everywhere, man. Gonna have to sweep up after you, Chris. Okay, so that's the stabs all sorted and ready. Go, all tucked away nicely. So what we're going to do now is just clip these and then lube them really, really quickly, and then we'll crack on with the build. And I've got the switches just here as well. So these are retooled blacks with 78 gram sprit springs in, all lubed up as well. Very quiet. I am clicking that. There you go. Okay, so just catching up on what's going on. You doing these things with the community is great, but the only thing that the Olympic product service health competition that Candy Keys don't seem to like. Other vendors would seem to be happy splitting the costs for the event. So that's this. You raise an interesting point. I know Amber have responded, and Dave's probably typing a response now. So you raise an interesting point. I think other vendors would like to attend, and other vendors would like to help fund. That's certainly the case, and I've spoken to a couple of vendors here from the UK. Not that they'd necessarily attend or fund ones in the EU, but they would potentially look at that if we ask for that in the UK. Now we don't. We tend to ask for ticket sales in the UK. It's a bit of a different model. Nothing wrong or right with either one. Now what I would say is, in terms of Candy Keys, and my advice on that front would be that you should always embrace competition. The whole point of a free market is that you have competition. Whether they like it or not, my keyboard and Candy Keys are in competition for a lot of things. Certainly in competition for gaining group buys and things like that. Certainly in competition for some of the boards and products they sell. But that's a healthy thing. That's not a bad thing. Competition is good for the community. It's good for the end user, and it's good for the businesses as well involved. At the end of the day, if they play the cards right, if they've got good business sense, it works for them. So competition is a very, very different thing, and I'm all for competition. And not avoiding it. And I've told David the same as well. He knows from the PMs we've had that that's how I view competition, and that's the way it should be for an environment such as this. Amber says, I've been talking with people about this con, and people said that it's common practice to donate to the organisers for organising the event. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. This knowledge might have changed how people are going to handle this. I think it would have been more fair to the attendees at the Candy Key affiliation. I've been more upfront to confirm since we were testing them. Maybe that's an interesting one. I don't know the details on that one, Amber, so I don't want to comment and get myself into any more trouble. Although I think my arguments were justified. So it's just one of those things. Dave says melted stab mount scratches and unlasered parts. You're unsure if you replied. Oh right, okay, sorry. Okay, you're talking to Martin about his board then. Okay, fair enough. The plates do look really good. Good. Double's come back with a whole host of bits. Thanks, man. Thanks for the bits. I appreciate that. I can't even work out what story you're trying to tell there. But yeah, there is certainly some concerns around competition, and I get that any reasonable business is going to try and want to, remove their competition. That's one of those things. That's how all businesses work. If you look at Microsoft and Sony and Apple, that's how they work. But competition is a good thing, and it helps the market, stabilize, be strong. It helps customers in terms of prices. It helps manufacturing prices. There's all sorts of benefits for, or to be said, for competition and a free market. It's just one of those things. It should be embraced, not denied. And Dev's come back with a response. I'm not sure if you read our response to Reddit page. We're not denying competition. I think not competitive in the way we want to harm each other, but we have different styles and mindsets, and there's a great sense of pride, right? Okay, so when we've talked about this, Dave, I think you'll agree. One of the things you said to me fairly earlier on was that you didn't see yourselves with My Keyboard as competition directly, and you didn't want to be seen as competition. I think it's something that you should embrace, and it seems like you're kind of coming around to that. You're not denying competition. You are competitors. Good to see. I think that My Keyboard and Candy Keys are not competitors in the way that we want to harm each other. No one's harm. I don't think that's ever the case. I don't think price wars or anything like that is harm necessarily. It's just one of those things. And I think it's great since it provides variety. Yeah, it definitely provides variety, and different styles and different mindsets do help, and that's what helps differentiate you from your competitors, and that's how you become, greater or lesser successul. It's one of those things. So Double, just to be clear, they didn't lock them out of the con. So last year, just to replay, the play of events was last year. Candy Keys covered the cost of Mechanicon, and they suggested to Christian, who was running it, that perhaps they should be the only provider. Christian has carried that rule forward to this year, but he's confirmed to both Candy Keys and publicly that Candy Keys, whether they requested that or not, would not have made a difference to his decision to not allow some of the other big vendors such as My Keyboard to attend. So it's not Candy Keys doing it, is their story. I have no reason to disbelieve that. So just to be clear, that's the case. So whilst my post was directly targeted at Candy Keys, I've apologised for that. It should have been targeted at Christian. Again, I've had conversations with other people who host meetups. I've hosted a few. I've been speaking to some of the other UK hosts, and Huey from Top Clack and Brian from Top Clack. So it's just one of those. It's just one of those things. It's the organiser that's made that decision. All the other people I've spoken to, we said we'd turn it around and we'd get a vendor in, even if they asked us the day before. It's always something that's arrangeable, especially for someone who's key to the community like the vendors are. They will keep us going as the vendors. So they keep us in stabs, they keep us in lube, they keep us in switches and everything else. So that's one of those things. So just to be clear, Double, that's that. Now my stance on that is that if Candy Keys have nothing to do with the decision, fair enough, that's where my apology comes from. That being said, I think that Christian's probably missing a trick and making the wrong decision in terms of how the meetup should be run. But that's his decision, it's his meetup, and he can run it however he wants. So that's my thoughts and views on the matter. Actually weren't aware the organiser were talking to other vendors and had no decision in this. I think it's fair to say, Dave, that you messaged me earlier on this week. I think you messaged the other Dave as well from My Keyboard, and you said that last year you'd suggested and hinted at it. This year you'd not mentioned it, but the rule had carried forward. Then when you checked with Christian said that he'd made the decision to carry the rule forward to this year, and also it wouldn't have made a difference whether you'd have asked for it or not last year. He would have still run it the same way he did. So I think those are broadly the facts. People can make their own opinions. I think that's as far as we're going to get on here. That fair? I hope so. I think it's fair in my view. Okay, so now we've done this, we're going to build these stabs together, and we're going to try and speed up a little bit as well. So as always, once you've clipped the stabs, so I've just taken off 2 legs off either side of the stabs, it's nice and flush on the bottom, so they're all nice and smooth. You've got 2 holes on one side of the stabiliser. You've got the clip for the front of the wire on the other stabiliser. I don't know if you can see that there. The 2 holes go to the front, pop that into the side, take your wire into the bottom hole. Once it's in the bottom hole, clip it into the front, and there you have one working stabiliser for the side. And then we're just going to repeat that across all of the other stabilizers, and then we'll quickly lube them. Catch up to this. Oh, sorry, Martin. Sorry, you pasted a link, Martin. Sorry, let me have a look at that. Let me have a look at that. What? Oh man, I love that. That's a great name. Okay, I like that. Okay, so I like it. My problem for me, Martin, is that it's not staggered. I can't use ortho boards like that. But I think the layout's really cool. I like the fact that you've got the stagger up and the angle as well at the same time, and the angles for the thumb keys as well. So whether like this. This is a really bad board to be trying to draw it out on. That's really cool, guys. Check that out. Have a look at that. That's really, really cool. I really like that. That's pretty awesome, actually. That is really awesome, Martin. That's really cool. Double, no, you've probably just misunderstood the situation. There's been a lot of rumours flying around and people having different things. So double, don't worry about it. As I said, I hope I just explained, clarified things. As I said, Dave from Candy Keys has agreed with me. He supports the story that I've relayed, the facts as they are. So, you know, I think my post is still valid. It probably targeted the wrong person, but in terms of the actual position, it's correct. It's just the target of that's incorrect. So that's just one of those things. But I'm glad it's brought to people's attention and people are actually focusing on it as well. All we've got to do is be good in this community and build. Where we see things that are injustices, we've got to stand up and call them out, and we've got to turn them to the right, the right way around. I don't know if you can hear that. There's some fireworks going in the background. I do apologise, guys. If you carry on, I'll shut the window. I really like it, Martin. Yeah, I think I've already said that. Split it. No, I don't split it. I think I like it as it is. It's kind of like an orthodox TGR. And it's based on the edge. Oh, right, okay. Oh, and Papa Harambe. Hey, man, you didn't say that you were joining today. Good to see you, dude. Good to see you. The column stagger is more aggressive, and the thumb keys are different compared to the edges and USB-C. Fair. I do apologise about the fireworks, guys. I didn't know these were going off. I'll shut the window if they carry on for too long. Yeah, Papa Harambe. You didn't say hi, man. You didn't say hi. Okay, we're almost there on these stabs. Almost there. Last one, and then we'll lube them, and then we'll get them put into the board. Oops. I'll put it together the right way. Okay, so they're all put together. We'll just keep the screws to one side. And then what we're going to do is just jump on to the lubing. So as always, car lube, multi-purpose grease, silicone grease, dielectric grease is the best stuff to use for stabs. Oh gosh, spilling it there. There we go. And then I just use a normal modeller's paintbrush just to pop that on. As you can see, short-tipped brush, really short-tipped. There we go. That's probably better over the white background. There you go. You can see. And what we do is we dip it into the lube, dry it off, make sure you've only got a tiny, tiny amount, onto one side of the slider, flip it over, onto the other side of the slider, dip it back into your lube. You want a small bead on the end of the brush, and you're going to go into the back where the wire is visible. So if you can see that just here where the wire is visible, you want to just pop it in there, roll it around the end of the wire. You're going to get a rice grain sized piece of lube on the brush, and you're going to brush that underneath front to back in one smooth motion. And then the last thing we're going to do on just this side is just paint whatever's left on the brush just around here. And again, it's always about making it smooth to touch and feel. In fact, I built this wrong. Rather than over lubing, it's easy to add more lube later than it is to take it away, so just be careful of that, guys. There we go. Okay, and then we'll go on to the other side. There's enough lube left on the brush here to just do the two sides of the slider, and then we're going to take a small blob into the back where the wire shows through. Size about the size of a grain of rice. smooth it along the bottom, and then flip it over and just brush there. I'm just going to repeat that really quickly across all of these, and then once I've done this, I'll catch up with chat and see where we're up to. Good progress here. As I say, it's always easy to add more loops, so don't add too much and then regret putting so much on. It's better to just put a little bit on, go sparing with it, and then add more later on if you feel it needs it later on. That's 2 done. 3 more to go. Okay, so just let's catch up with chat, see what's going on here. Evil Genius says +1 for a more aggressive column stagger, though I'd like more thumb keys personally. Yeah, I could see room for another 1U thumb key, or make that a 1.5U. I don't know what it is actually from your diagram, Martin. I assume it's 1.5 or 1.75. Maybe 2 1Us would be alright in that position, I don't know. Double adjusted that kind of keys, which was wrong. Don't worry about it, man. I did that on a much grander scale. I've apologised for it, but I still feel my post was justified in terms of everything. Just one of those things. These things happen, and I'd rather people spoke out and stood up for the little man and made sure that things weren't wrong and things weren't being done in the wrong way, and that people complained if they weren't happy with stuff than anything else. Amber's interested. Where can you see progressions on the board? Yeah, everyone's telling me it needs more thumb keys, but I can't seem to make that look as nice. Ergonomics are just as important as looks, Martin. That would be my stance on that. Looks are great, but if the board doesn't function how it should, or doesn't have the ability to function how it should, you need to address that as well. It's both sides to the equation. It's a balancing act, not a just go for one side of it. Dave says, yeah, do not worry about it. Jay's correct. It's important to call things that sound off and that are unfair. Nothing wrong or against it. It's what makes a community great and a strong community, where people are there to support each other, even though we are placed all around the world very differently. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. Okay, we are slowly getting through these now, and then hopefully the build will go pretty quickly. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Just finish this one and we'll have another look at chat, see what's going on. Okay, so JC, you have some sprit springs. Have you installed those? How do you like sprit springs? Do you actually feel any difference compared to the G version or the non-standard plate version? Yeah, so the question is, do I use sprit springs? Yes, almost exclusively. I don't use any stock springs pretty much ever. I've tried Cat Wee Wee springs from Elaine at Sync Keyboards. I've tried a few other brands and variations and things like that. And sprit ones are the ones that win the day for me. I've got pretty much every weight sprit offers. I've got a drawer full of sprit springs I'll show you in a second. And I use them for all my builds. Yes, you can feel the difference. So in terms of the feel, they are less crunchy than normal springs. Normal springs, you can feel a slight crunch, even with lube on. You can still feel a slight crunch or crunchiness to the feel, and that's always on the downstroke as well. So just in terms of springs, so as you can see, I've got pretty much every weight that he offers in both MX and in Alps as well, so these are all Alps ones. Yeah, I think I've got a few box switches in another drawer as well. So yeah, so I use them pretty much exclusively, if I've got to be honest. Yeah, the MX Black stock spring is real crunchy. So these, I don't have a, in fact, do I? This is a really, really poor test because it's a test on a stream with music in the background. But this is a retooled one that's been lubed, and with a spring swap, this is a retooled one that hasn't been done at all. So let me pause the music actually, and let's see if you can hear this. The fireworks are still going on, so I apologise about that. Let me shut the window. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is the retooled with lube. This is the retooled stock. Let's see if you can hear the difference. Don't know if you can hear that. Really don't know if you can hear that. But poor test. It's easier to tell in person. So there we go. But yeah, there's definitely a difference. Kenny Key still wanted to be an exclusive vendor. Yeah, they requested that last year. Whether that made any influence on the decision or not, don't know. It's one of those things. David and I have spoken about it at length. You know, I think I've been fairly open and honest about that. You really like stock Zeal Springs is something. Hey man, the whole hobby is built on preference. If you like something, you like something. If you don't like something, you don't like it. Just because you like something that someone else doesn't like doesn't mean anything at all. It means nothing whatsoever. So we're just going to install these now, these stabilizers, and then what we'll do is we'll flip the board over and we'll screw them in. It's a bit quiet without that. There we go. Turn it down a touch. Okay, so these are almost all in. And once these are in, we'll flip the board over and we'll screw it in. We'll come back to the space bar in a second because I just want to double check the layout of it. Although I think it's going to be there. I can't see why it wouldn't be. If that goes this way around. Let's go with it and we'll test it in a second. Have I got a space bar to hand? Yeah, okay, so that works. Okay, yeah, that's where the space bar is going to go. Okay, so what we're going to do now is all these are installed. I don't band-aid mod personally. If anyone's going to ask me about that, I dislike them. I dislike the feel of it. Although I did do it on the Alice, but that's because I don't feel like it's really got any stabilizers in it. It's not got a space bar as such, which is where most people tend to do that. Okay, we're just going to screw these down. This is one of the good PCBs again. When I was looking at this earlier on, I didn't see anywhere where there will be contact between the screw and any of the threads or traces or anything like that. So there should be no issues with shorting of it on the circuit board or anything like that. So there's no need, as far as I can tell, to add any tape or a washer to any of these stabilizers. And again, you're not over tightening this. You're literally just wanting to tighten them to hold them snug. You're not trying to crush the PCB. You're not trying to strip the thread. You're just trying to get them to be flush. So as soon as you feel any real resistance, that's when you need to stop screwing. Going to change the screwdriver. There we go. Okay. Okay, and we're going to move on to the ISO enter and we'll look at the board back to front. And then we've just got the backspace to do after this. Okay, in fact, we might have one potential short issue on here that I hadn't seen before. We'll cross that bridge if it shorts. So if this does short later on, which is this one here, I don't know if you can see, but the screw hole is going to align onto a pin port. If that does cause any shorting problems later on, what we'll do, and it shouldn't do because it's only one pin. What we'll do is we'll just put a little bit of tape underneath the screw and close that off. There we go. So there we go. That's all the stabilizers installed. Just proof that there's no rattle. There you go. It's all good. So that should sound and feel nice from a stabilizer perspective. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take a look at the plate and work out how we're going to do the build. So to do that, I'm just going to remove it from here. So just undo these screws. screwdriver around. As you can see, this is top mount, which I do prefer the feel of. It gives a more consistent feel in terms of flex of the plate and feel of the keys as well. Much superior to tray mount in my opinion. Okay, so that's that done. Take that out, pop the top to one side. Okay, and then we can see that that's how the board is going to sit, that's how the plate's going to sit on the PCB. So what I'm going to do now is just take a few of these switches, plug them into the corners, see how we look in terms of the layout. The PCB does take PCB mounted switches, which is great. Chat's very quiet now. I've gone very quiet. Okay, maybe you were deaf. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Hey, if someone likes a certain spring, who am I to complain? You know, we all like weird things. If we all like the same thing, the world would be a really boring place. It'd be a really boring place. You're into keyboards, so there must be something wrong. Yeah, you're all sat here watching me build a keyboard on stream. You know, there's a lot to be said for taste. Thick clicks, my ears don't stop ringing. Oh, you're all watching me, that's why you're quiet. Fair enough, fair enough. If anyone's got anything interesting to say on anything I've discussed today, you know, do let me know. Even if it's offline, if you don't want to put it in chat, you want to ping me separately and say something or anything like that. Or David, you know, that's absolutely fine. You know, feel free either way to do that. I just wanted to address it, clear it up. You know, say what. I actually invited David to see if he wanted to come on and chat here on stream. He did accept, but I haven't been able to sort anything out this week. I've been super busy. But I would like to start having guests on stream at some point. So maybe David from Candy Keys will be a guest at some point in the near future. We'll see. We'll see. Stream is like 4 minutes behind. Good job, German internet, still living in the 1970s. Yeah, the stream looks like it's quite stable. Let me have a look. Yeah, it's stable at just over 5,000 kbps, so it should be fine. Okay. Let's start filling these rows in now. So these switches were lubed earlier on with Krytox 106 on both the stem, the housing, and the springs. So as I say, the springs are sprit 78 grams. So they're quite light for me for a linear. The last one I built with these was 125 grams. So it's quite a different board. Similar layout though, same layout. Different look and feel though. Okay, we are getting there slowly now. Go for that. That's the Krytox lube, nice and thick, 106 lube. We're going to run stepped caps on this board as well, just because I prefer the aesthetic of stepped caps. So that's what we're going to plug in. As you can see, I always run. Oh, you can't see it behind the thing, but even the Alice has got stepped caps. The other good news as well is I got confirmation that the wrist rest for the Alice will be on its way soon. So I've got a nice wooden wrist rest coming. Really looking forward to that. What else is going on in chat? Just found out I forgot to add cinnamon to my breakfast French toast bake. I feel really stupid now. It's one of those things, Amber. One of those things. Where are you if you're having breakfast at this time? Where are you? Stocked hands are full, sending a 10-inch print of a bayonet knife you did yesterday. Nice, nice. I do need to see pictures of your prints. There's something weird though. I 3D print the switch top openers and MX stem holder tweezers and little benches and things like that, and a dice tower for Max, and you print knuckle dusters and a bayonet. Very, very different ideas of what's supposed to print. Telecom SWM hates my location. They only replaced the underground cable and optic fibre in locations around us, but not in my location. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Denmark. Okay, that makes sense, Amber. That makes sense. In fact, no, it doesn't make sense actually, because you're about an hour ahead of me, so it's 10 o'clock. That doesn't make sense actually at all. Oh, and the stocks have got a little bit of a love affair going on. A little bit of a love affair. Oh, the one thing I was going to ask you, Candy Keys, as well, is how is the Olivia group buy coming along? I think I've seen that the set should be shipping soon. Oh. Breakfast for the whole week. Ah, okay, so you're doing meal prep. That makes sense. My wife did meal prep yesterday for the whole week. She did chilies and shepherd's pie and bolognese and all sorts of stuff. I think we went through about 10 pounds of mince in a single day doing meal prep for us. Oh, right, okay. So but now I understand. I thought you were someone completely different. I didn't realise that that's who you were. Okay, so now I know who you are. Now I know who you are. That has clarified things. This is the thing with different usernames. People don't really know who's who. But yeah, we'll get there. The one-on-one connection we pay for got replaced by fibre to telecom, but the wires going into the house are still copper, so you have huge packet loss. Yeah, I can imagine that would happen actually. We've got fibre right into the house. It's literally right behind where the screen is, where it comes into the house. So we're relatively okay here in the UK. Are you trying to sell things? What are you trying to sell? Harley Pandas aren't great. Anything that I might want? Anything at all that I might want? Don't know. Okay. So we're almost there now, putting the switches in. A few more to go, and then we can start to solder. One of the things I haven't decided yet is on how I'm going to run the bottom row here. I haven't fully decided how we're going to do that, so we'll have a consideration on that in just a second. We'll get the rest of these in. I don't think I've got many options to pick from here. There we go. I'll get this. That's a one new switch only. That's where the space bar is going to go. Okay. So we've got one spot for the Windows key there. And then we've got one spot for the Alt key there, so I don't have a choice on that one. In terms of the control, I believe I want it there. So that's all even at that side. And then in terms of the FN, hold on, let's get some keys out here so we can work out what size is working on. So that's a 1U key there. That's also a 1U, is that 1.5U? 1.25. That's 1.25 there. And then if we pop the space bar on as well, we can have a look at this. Okay. So if I wanted it to be, so that's, if I want that to be 1.25U, which we have it here, we can pop that in there. And what does that make our last key? Okay, I think that's the layout we're going to go for there. I think just like that should be fine. Yeah, I think that's the layout we're going to go for there. And then let's just try it down at this end, see if everything fits down at this end. So that should be a 1U key just there. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm comfortable with that. I think that's the right layout to choose on this board. The only thing that would make this better is if I could go wing keyless. I would quite like a wing keyless 66%, but I don't know if any exist. Don't know if any exist. Right, Olivia, last thing I heard from Mike was that they are shipping mid-October, so now I think newsletter will be sent shortly before the process. Good to know, good to know. Need to create a new account so this not keep happening. Nah, man, I know who you are now. I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to forget. Jay, you need to get film that isn't clear so you can inspect my prints. Yeah, well, I'll show you the latest one. So this is a dice tower that I made for Max in 2 parts. So effectively, it's a tower that you put dice in, and the dice falls down the inside of the tower, bounces off the little ridges that you can see inside, comes out of the bottom, and then balls a number. As you can see, I print in what's called clear filament. So you can probably see just in the light here that there are the shapes of bricks, and you can see here the quality of the archway. This hasn't been tidied up at all or anything. This is literally as it came off the printer, so that's really nice and smooth there. It needs just a little bit tidied up at the back. Straight hair. Yeah, but I need to start printing in colour so you can see, because this is quite shiny. But the bricks are there. There is brickwork on it. I think you can probably see it better in the shadow. If I turn it like that, you can probably see the outlines of the bricks there. And then the top just will sit on like that and glue on, and then it's a little nice tower. There we go. So yeah, the printer's pretty good. The printer's pretty good. You can prove it. Okay, fine. You want Navilias or cream damped Alps? I've got a bunch of random stuff, but those are probably the most interesting. I have got some Navilias on the way, so I did a bit of a group buy in the UK with Snappo. Now he's got them, but then he's left the community, and I have no idea what's happening with them. So I need to ping him and ask. But if they don't come off, I'll definitely take those off of you. I'll definitely take the Navilias. Jay, did you get Rama novelties with the set? No, I just got the base and the extra kit. That's all I got. Yeah, that was what I bought. That you need to sell stuff. Everyone needs to sell stuff. That's all good. It's all good. Okay, just take the spacebar off of here. If you post on Reddit that you're selling the Navilias and I buy them, we can do the thing there. It is what it is. Okay, so the only other thing we need to do as well is just bear in mind that we've got the LED to input as well. This is where I hope I don't have to put it underneath the plate and into the PCB that way. Hopefully it'll slip through. And what we're going to do here is, it's got a little grommet that sits just in here as well. That's quite good. There's again 2 pins, so we just need to have a look at where it goes. So it goes into here. We can see that one's positive, which is the square, and then we've got the round one, which is the neutral. I don't know if they show up square and so square is always for the longer stem. So we're going to pop that through, see how that fits. Okay, so it doesn't need to go underneath as far as I can tell. Let's just see if that will work with the top. I'm conscious I've just pushed it out there. Okay, so it's sitting proud there. Let's just have a look. Okay, so it does need to go underneath the PCB. Sorry, underneath the plate. It needs to sit underneath the plate and push through and protrude through. So we're just going to have to address that. It should be relatively easy. These should just prise out. Being rather gentle to do so. Anyone is going to kill me for doing this, but just gently prising it up, just so that we can get that underneath there. Okay, probably going to trim these legs just so we can slide it through. Chris sent another 200 bits. Thanks, Chris. Chris, you're a legend, man. You are a legend in your own lunchtime. So I have trimmed them, just so you can see, but I've left one a little bit longer than the other, so I know which one's a positive and which one's not. And double with some more bits as well, another 300. Cat stand not being the top bit donator. Okay, I'm going to have to just take a few more of these out. There we go. And Chris with another 300. We've got a tip war going on. We've got a tip war. Oh, thanks, guys. I do appreciate the tips. Do appreciate them. Just to confirm as well, any tips do go back into... there we go. That's nice and sound there. Any tips that I do get, they do go back into giveaways and things like that. They're not used for anything from a personal nature. It's literally all used for giveaways and that kind of good stuff. Okay, so just checking we're all aligned. Okay, so as you can see when I show you in a second, PCB and the plate are all nicely aligned around one side, all nicely aligned around this side. That's all nice and flush. The LED's now in there in the right orientation, all nicely aligned across the bottom and on the far side as well. That's going to be our layout, that's going to be our build. I don't think I need to use that rubber grommet unless it goes inside the case. That once it's soldered in is going to be really nice and flush anyway. So yeah, so we go with that. Okay, so on to the soldering. Chris with another chunk of bits, 71 bits. Thanks, Chris. What's going on? What's going on? I would be more interested in the damped creams than the whites. Oh, you're trying to sell them, that's fine. And we've got Cosmonato as well. Hey man, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Chris has run out of bits. Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate all of those bits. Thank you very much. Oh, the other thing on the 3D printing as well, Stocks, is that this is the support for the inside of the archway. Look at this angle. Look at that. That's printed from flat like this. All the way up here. Oh, the 3 bits. Chris. What are you doing, man? What are you like? What are you like? Mr. Chris Wise himself. So as you can see, that's a really nice 3D print. So that comes flat. As if you imagine that's the flat of the bed, and it's printing upwards across this. So that's the angle it can print at. I don't know what that is, but I'll measure it later on. But it's really, really good. Really good. Oh, and WGM with another 71 as well. The bits are coming in like crazy. They're going to go straight into the giveaway pot. Straight into the giveaway pot. Okay, so it's time to solder now. So I've got my trusty soldering iron, the TS100. I'm going to plug that in and charge that up. Put these screws to one side. We don't need the clippers anymore. We're good for now. Okay, pop that in there. Okay, and we've got solder. As always, we're going to be using some Kester solder. A nice big chunk of Kester solder. Let's get all this ready. And then what we'll do is we'll fly through as many of these as we can. I'm just going to check and make sure there's none with bent pins. That looks good. That looks good. Looking good. Okay, I can't see anything with a bent pin, so we're all good. Clean the tip. What we'll do is we'll just tack the ones in the corners first, and then we'll go around the board from there. One done, and 2. Okay, I'm going to the corner over here. There we go. Come down to the bottom. Once we've done the 4 corners, we'll just go row by row, and we'll get it soldered nicely. There we go. I'm just going to come into this corner. There we go. That's all 4 of the corners tacked in, just nice and simple. Holds it in place, means we're not going to have any issues with loose switches as we go through the build. So then we'll just go row by row. And try and be nice and speedy. Once you get a good pace going with your soldering, it's important that you keep it up and try not to take too many distractions. It's something that you just need to get in the zone with and go with, and it's not something anybody should be afraid of. So if any of you are out there wondering whether you should solder your own boards or not, it's dead easy to do. I'd say you can build quite some speed with it as well. The main thing is making sure you've got nice teardrop shaped soldering points. You don't want to get any cold solders. If it starts to look like a bubble on top, you just want to go back and reheat it and reflash it. So always give it a second run on it after you take the solders away as well. Okay. So here you go, you can see making some good progress now. Almost got the first row done. Now we're on backspace key. And we're going to come down to the second row. So remember, this is 66% layout. So this is the page down key, which would be on the clue board type of board for this one. This is the ISO enter key. Yep. So we can see where we're soldering them. There we go. So now we're going to come back on to the second row. So this is the alpha row, the QWERTY row as it were. We're just going to fly across this side. Make sure you're not using too much solder, but making sure you completely fill in the contact as well. Nice and dead easy. Once we get to the end of this row, I'll have a look on chat, see what's going on, see what you guys are chatting around, and then we'll finish off the rest of the board after that. Come on. Okay guys, we're almost there. We are making good progress. Always be careful when you're going around other components. Last thing you want to do is touch something you don't want to be touching. Just make sure you're avoiding anything dangerous from that perspective. There we go. Okay, so that one's done. It's not about winning, but giving to the community. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Genuinely, anything I make through subs or donations or bits or anything like that, it's all going to go back to funding giveaways. So one of the ones I want to do next, I want to do a full board build where the user, where I buy a kit. The user decides what layout they want, what switches they want, and we go through the whole build together over the series of a couple of streams. So we'll decide it on one, we'll get the board, we'll do the build over a series of streams. That's what I want to do next in my giveaway. So that's what I'm aiming towards. That's what all of these bits and pieces are going into. That's what it's done. And get all the bits back if you win the giveaway. You will do. It's a little always a bit about winning. Yeah, right. It's like voting. And Dave just said, got this 75J. Let me know if you want it. You can ship it for your way first thing tomorrow. It's just been sitting here collecting dust. Sorry for the no rotation. If Skibo fans want, that's absolutely perfect, man. Yeah, if you've got that, and yeah, just let me know. I'll cover shipping, cover the cost of it, whatever you need. Absolutely. Yeah, I need it for the Nox Rick 75 prototype, so I can build the copper board. But yeah, if you don't mind, David, I'll ping you afterwards, and we'll sort that one out. The other news as well, I have just entered 2 group buys for different boards today. Entered the one with Shoko for a POM kayak. So for those that you don't know, a guy called Coda in the US, he designed the kayak board after he was waiting for his canoe for so long to be delivered, and it's basically a wooden version of the canoe in a layered acrylic and wood layout. Effectively, he uses Tadar 68 PCB. Now, it's a 65% board, but one of the things that's been happening is Shoko off of Top Clack has been running a group buy in the States for a POM variant. So this is the same thing as the jelly keys. The POM jelly keys are made out of, it's a type of plastic. Effectively, he's running a small group buy for POM kayaks. So it's all cut out of the POM type of plastic. And interestingly, Dave, another Dave here, so this is the third Dave we're talking about today. Dave from Mechboards UK is running a group buy for an acrylic version of the kayak, all using Coda's files. And obviously we've all donated to Coda for producing those files as well. But effectively, what that means is, I'm sorry, that switch isn't in properly. Just give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Now it is. That switch wasn't in properly. So yeah, so effectively I'm going to end up with 3 kayaks soon. 1 from Shoko in POM material, and 2 in acrylic from Mechboards. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that, the group buy is running at the minute on Mechboards server. Anyone is free to join, so you can all jump and have a look at that as well. Sure thing, talk about it later. Cool, thanks man, I really appreciate it. You remember how I had the stream open the entire last time giveaway and walked away while you were actually doing it? Well, the next giveaway will be a couple of weeks away just yet. As I say, that's what I want to do, but Twitch pays royalties quite slowly, so I'm waiting for those royalties to come in. Once they do, I'll arrange what kit I'm going to do, build based on. I haven't decided yet, and then we'll build it on stream using the switches of choice. I'll find a few different variants what I've got lying around, and the winner can pick which switches they want and what layout they want, and then the week after, when everything's arranged, we'll go ahead and build it on stream, and then we'll ship it out to them as well. And we'll put it up on YouTube as a bit of a sound test as well. But hopefully it's a way that someone can get a really good board, drill up some interest in the stream, get it noticed a little bit in a few different places, all that kind of good stuff as well. Okay, so as you can see, we're almost there with the soldering now. We're getting there quite well. Just the bottom row to do pretty much, which should be quite quick. Some more solder ready. Okay, so we've done the one in the corner there, so I'm just going to go onto this switch here. And then we're almost there now. That's the space bar done. I'm just going to move on to what would be the right hand side of the board. So what is the Alt-GR, the FN key, I think the last one's control, and then we've got the 3 arrow keys as well. So on to the last 3 switches now. And that's one done. And that's 2 done. And we'd already done the 3rd one. So there we go. The other thing we need to do as well is we need to solder that LED in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that's pushed nicely flush against here. I'm just going to rest something underneath it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting something underneath where the LED will be, and what that's going to do is it's going to just raise the LED up so that the legs don't need to be bent, and then we're just going to tack it in place. Pads on this one are rather small. There we go. That's that done. Oh no! Drip solder onto the mat. I'll clean it up later. Okay, so there we go. That is the board now soldered up. I'm really annoyed about that. I'm going to have to drip solder, clean that up later on. What we'll do is we'll remelt it, and hopefully it won't melt too much plastic in the polyester in the mat underneath it. Hey ho. One of those things, small accident. Okay, so there we go, that's all in there. What we're going to do now is we're just going to clip the LED wires. That's 1. That's 2. And there we go. So there we go, that's the board all built and looking rather dandy. What we'll do now is we'll just put the solder away, and then we'll build the board up into the case. We'll cap it, and then we'll give it a bit of a test drive and see how it looks and sounds and feels. So we can take the top, flip that over. What I'm interested in here is how the LED slots into the case there. That goes in pretty much perfect. Good. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll just screw these in. As always with anything like this, we're going to go diametrically opposed. So we're going to start off in one corner, go to the other, and gradually increase the tension on the plate into the housing. One thing I do like about these screws is nice and big and chunky, much easier to handle than the ones that hold the plate into the Melody 96. They may not look as nice and neat and tidy, but they do feel a lot easier to screw in. Okay, and last one. Okay, there we go. Good. Making some progress. Okay, now what we're going to do is put this all together. There we go, that's how it's going to sit. Flip this over, we'll get the hex keys ready. And put back here. Just grab an Allen key and I'll pop these in. Make sure it's all nice and flush. Okay, so trust that 2 are missing from this, and the 2 that are missing will be the size I want. Yep. Luckily I know where they are. I think they're just up here. Got moved out of the way. There we go. That should be the right size. There we go. What we're going to do is pop these in. Gently tighten this up. Make sure we've got the board flush around all the edges. As I said before, diametrically opposed. Just make sure we tighten it up and get the tolerances right. Here we go. So 1 second. As soon as we screwed this together, we'll take a look at chat and see what's going on. I'll try and catch it while I'm doing this. Do you even get all the money I spend on bits, or is it like 50-50? Bits are 100%, tips are 100%, subscriptions are 50-50 split between Twitch and I. You wouldn't want to melt like my ISO is love. That's very true. It's fine. This is only one of the tester versions. There is actually a newer version coming as well. So yeah, I can't wait to get that. But you're right, ISO is love. I only have a handful of non-ISO boards, this being one of the couple. Even the VEA is ISO, so you know it's definitely something that I'm very passionate about. Okay, that's all soldered together. Let's get some of these little rubber feet ready. We'll see how these sit in here. There we go, that's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And that's 4. Okay, so we can turn it over, take a look at the board, and then we'll get some caps on it. Okay, so there we go. That's the board all built up. And everything out of the way that I don't need. I think you'll agree it looks pretty good. What we'll do first is we'll just get a switch hitter up and we'll test it. So I'm just going to get my application up here in the background. You won't be able to see this, guys, but I'll let you know if there's anything wrong with any of the keys. Okay, and let's steal the cable and plug this in. I know the cable doesn't match because it's pink, but let's go with it. Oh, interesting that LED is lit up underneath. I don't know if you guys can see just in there, but it is lit up underneath. And the LED here is lit up as well. That's a nice blue shade. So we'll just go through and I'll test all these keys, let you know it works. Escape, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, dash, plus, backspace, insert, and delete. Okay, weird combination, we'll have a look at that later on. Tab, QWERTY is all fine, UIOP, brackets, enter works good as well, caps lock works, ASD, F, G, H, J, K, L, colon, dash, and hash. Okay, so I need to, in fact, actually, let me just change this to ISO. Okay, so hash isn't working, probably a firmware issue, we'll come back to that. Shift, there is no backslash down there, so ZXC, V, B, N, M. Okay, that's not working either. Shift. Arrows are all working. That's all working. And that, so FN. I don't know what's going to do anything to the LED. I don't know if anything's working under there. Okay, R doesn't work with FN held down. Weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what. Okay, up and down don't work either. They might be LED controls. Is that changing colour? No, I think it's still the same blue. Oh no, that is changing the colour. So this is changing the colour of the LED. It's now gone blue and then green, now back to blue. It's gone now purple. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, so that is changing colour anyways, that LED. So there we go. I think that looks really nice. Let's get some caps on it and see what it looks like. Yeah, wouldn't want that my ISOs. The only problem is that I see less and less group buys with international add-on kits. I need my so that's a good point actually. That's a good point. A lot of key sets these days don't run even with ISO. Never mind international. If actually we're not using these keys, what I'm doing. Don't run with international kits or even ISO, which is it's a big problem for some of us. It's interesting that the world's going that way. I can kind of completely understand why. The key sets just don't sell. It's just one of those things. If they don't sell, why would you use them? In fact, no, neither of those shifts will work. So these keys came off of a. This is GMK Oblivion. The keys came off of another key set, another board. Sorry. So. It's just whatever was in use was in here. That's one new there. That'll go there. So once these are on, I'll get the rest of the keys out of the tray. ASDFG. There we go. HKL. As you can tell, it was another 75% board that these came off of. Sorry, 65% board. Oh, Cosmonauta's got to go. Have a good evening, man. Thanks very much for joining the stream. I really appreciate you, as always. You're all legends in your own lunchtime. I absolutely love doing this for you guys and having you guys on here and showing you guys what we're building each week. QWER 8. As I say, next week we'll hopefully be doing the 75% board. All things being well. And then the week after that we'll be looking at doing the TX 1800, which I'm really looking forward to doing actually. That'll be getting the other Oblivion, so I've got the Dark Oblivion as well. That'll be going on my grey TX 1800, I believe. Just need to make sure that I'm completely happy with that. ASD FGHJ UIO. Again, don't need that key. Oh, I've got Odin in the chat as well, man. Hey Odin, how you doing, dude? Good to see you on stream again. Good to see you on stream again. My phone is going nuts. I do apologise, guys. Sorry, I do apologise about that. That's Laser Boost just confirming they've got my latest order, which is great. I don't think we're going to use that. There we go, that's the escape key. Don't need that because we're using stepped caps. Oops. We're making some good progress. Hopefully you guys like the look of this board. As I say, I think there's only 10 of them made, so I'm quite happy to have got one. I know this must be quite boring watching someone cap a board, but it's one of those things that just has to be done, I'm afraid. Lovely ISO enter key there. Okay, almost there. And then what we'll have to do is just look for the rest of the keys in the key set, and we'll add to that. So let's get the rest of the keys out of here. Oh, empty tray. And this gives me an opportunity to just put the rest of the keys back in here as well. Sometimes these GMK trays are quite fussy. Let's try and make a bit of room here so we can look at this properly. There we go. Okay, so this is an opportunity to just put the other keys back in here as well, so I'll just get these put back in and we can have a look at them, make sure we're doing the right thing. We'll come back to whether I'm going to use that or not. Okay, the one thing I'm going to do is just change the page up key because it's the wrong profile just here. Whichever board that was on previously is the wrong profile, so I'm just going to change that. There we go. And then we need the shift keys, so I think that one goes here. And this one should go here. There we go. And then we just need to work out what we're going to do with the keys on this side. So I'm going to go FN in the middle. I'm hoping we've got an Alt-GR. Don't think we do. No, it's going to have to be Alt key. And then we'll go Control as well. And then we just need these stepped caps. We'll go just normal stepped caps key. And there we go. That out of the way as well. Got a stack of things balanced up there at the side of me now. Okay, guys, so there we go. That is the Punchy Royal 66 board, fully built. I think you'll agree that looks really nice. It's really smart. I love this little logo here. I'm tempted to maybe infill this like I have done with the TGR logo. I'm tempted to maybe infill that, maybe with a bit of gold, just something that'll match the rest of the rest of the board's aesthetic. Let's just move this a little bit out of the way and get a cable that kind of matches in. That's not plugged into the board, into the PC, but you can see, there we go. That's how it's going to look. I think that looks really nice, really nice. Oh, and double with more bits as well, another 69 bits. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, dude. Really appreciate it. Okay, so let's just catch up with chat, see what's going on. This guy gets more messages than me. Yeah, my phone goes nuts sometimes. It's work a lot of it. I also want to get full left shift. I guess pipe keys on a layer. It's going to have to be Anarchy. Yeah, I'm going to have to put it on a layer, which is interesting. I've never had an ISO board that does this. In fact, let me grab a couple of other 66 keys just so I can show you what I usually go with. But yeah, I really like the feel of the board. The edge is really nice. Let's just see what else people have said. The edge is nice. Yeah, Odin, the edges are really nice. That bevel is really nice and lovely. It sits nice as well. There's no gap to speak of at the bottom or the side. Look, it is fully high profile. Try and show you this from the bottom as well. It is fully high profile. The gap isn't really existent. So yeah, that looks really good. I'm really happy with that. I think the key set works on the board. It looks really nice. The only thing I might do is maybe change these for Sky Dolch, maybe mods. Don't know. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think. Andy, I need to work that out, if I'm honest. I don't know how I type it yet. But yeah, it looks really good. Rope, thank you very much. It looks great, doesn't it, guys? It looks really, really good. Yeah, I really like it. It is sexy, yeah. I think it's a really good board. I'll get some other 66 keys and we'll take a look and compare them in a second. You can also look into ISBM keycat sets, but A keys and oh right, okay, you're talking about your switches, yeah. I thought the Punchy 6 was a China only group buy. It was, good sir. It was a China only group buy. How do you type that? Yeah, I need to work out how I'm going to type that, but it does look sexy. It kind of looks mirrored. I kind of like that. It looks great. Or make it anti. Not going to happen. Before we do a sound typer test, though, I'm going to grab a couple of other 66% boards I've got on the wall just over here, and we'll do a bit of a comparison. So we'll have a look. We'll have a look. Okay, so we've got a couple of boards here to take a look at. So the first one is the clue board. So this is the clue board with GMK coniferous on it. So you can see the layout's broadly the same. There are a couple of aesthetic differences. First and foremost, the gap here and here is slightly different. I'm not sure how they've accommodated that actually. I think they've just moved it over slightly. Yeah, so okay, so I think, sorry, in fact they haven't moved anything. So the key layout is the same, but what you can see here is a difference on tolerances. So the gap here is bigger around the edges than it is here. And one of the other things you can see about the clue board as well is a massive gap at the front, just underneath the keys. So this is a clue board with the acrylic bottom. So yeah, so you can see there's a gap. We saw before in the Punchy that there isn't one. You can even see it there when it's laid down. So it's definitely more of a high profile top. And that's most evident in the fact that the layout is identical, but you can see here the blocker is 0.25U and it's 0.5U there. Speaks for itself. The second one I want to show you is a keyboard 661. This is another GMK set. This is GMK Exempt, so it is GMK. I am missing two keys that are in a drawer somewhere I need to dig out as well. But again, you can see that the layout is broadly the same. Well, in fact, it's identical actually, apart from we've got the ISO here. This is also Retooled blacks, but it's 125 grams, so we can do a sound test with this one. But you can see that they've got the same nice 0.5U blocker here. Again, the tolerance is much tighter on here than they are on the Keyboard Fans one. And if we look in terms of gap on this board, again, there isn't a gap that you can really see until you get it to that angle. So that's almost flat with the desk there, but you can see it at that point. Whereas even when this is flat, there isn't really a gap. So I think the tolerance is a lot tighter on this board. It's a lot better designed. So yeah, so let's just give you a sound test on this one so you can reference it. Okay, so let's now have a look at what the Punchy board sounds like. I think it sounds really nice. Much more solid sounding than the much more solid sounding. Let's do them side by side so you can hear the difference. So this is much more muted in terms of sound. That sounds a lot more clackier, but the switches are identical apart from the spring weights. They're lubed in the same way, they're lubed in the same manner, same lube, everything like that. I think it looks great. I'm really happy with the board. I think it looks fantastic. I love the fact that it's high pro. I love the shape of the sides, the angle. I think it sounds fantastic. I think the keycaps suit it really well. Interested in your thoughts, guys? Let me know what you think. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. And just again, that lovely weight on the bottom. Yeah, I'm really chuffed with that. I think it's a really great board. Looking forward to using it and putting the TGR on the shelf for a couple of days. Yeah, I'm interested in that. I like it. I'll have to see if I can keep my eyes up for any of the other Punchy boards. I noticed that they are doing a 1800 as well soon. An 1800 soon. Rope says he wants to do an ISO board with full left shift. Looks really good aesthetically. Yeah, I actually quite like that look. It's probably more aesthetic than ANSI in terms of that symmetry type view. I would have thought from there upwards, just in terms of the key look. If we change that for a grey key, it would look really symmetrical. It wouldn't be, but it would look it. I think that'd be quite good. So I might change that one for the grey of the other Oblivion set that I've got, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great. It was a China early group by Wick. Yeah, man has his ways. J-Bang's a Chinese chick on the side. My wife's in the shower, man, and I don't bang anyone on the side. I'm not the type of guy to do that. But yeah, there we go, guys. That's the board. It's built. I'll have a think about whether I'm going to do an inlay on this, like I have on the TGR, or like I've done on the Canoe as well. I think you guys have seen that before. Where I've inlaid some acrylic paint. I did it on the VAA with molten copper leaf as well. So yeah, I'll have a look at that and see what I think. Not fully decided whether I'd do it or not, but maybe a little gold or brass, something like that would look really nice just pressed into there. I'll have a think, see what I can come up with. So as I say, in terms of next week, if we get the other 75% PCB, we'll be looking at the Noctri X75. We'll be rebuilding that with Retooled blacks, doing 2 PCBs and making that all look and sound really nicely. And then we'll do a direct comparison between copper and brass, and we'll record the videos for that and get them on YouTube as well. But unless there's any other questions for me or anything like that, I think we'll close down the stream there, and we'll call it an evening, because we've been streaming for 2 hours now. We've only got this done. We never even got the LEDs done. We're going to have to do them tonight anyway before I start back at work tomorrow. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, Candy Keith, for being in the chat. It was good having a conversation with you, getting our points across as well. And yeah, I will speak to you all again soon. If you guys want to check out my Discord server, you can join on if you put exclamation mark Discord in here. Hold on, I've not got a keyboard plugged in now. There we go. There we go. There we go. There you go. If any of you wants to come and chat on the Discord, you are more than welcome to. So yeah, so thanks very much for that. I'll see you all later. Thank you very much. See you guys.